Hello and welcome to another edition of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. I'm your host Marty alongside Dave.
Hello,
Just me and you tonight.
Dream Team.
Yeah, it's been a long while since it's just been us. So yeah, it probably means the podcast will go nice and smoothly and at a good
I'll
pace.
do my best not to derail.
Thank you very much. There's no games tonight, so there's no gold horns, thankfully, and I don't think I don't. Well, no, you do have access to the gold horn, but I don't think you'd do that to me. We
No,
had a conversation. Obviously, John and Aaron aren't here tonight. I think both working, but we did have a conversation about trying to move the podcast to last night, which would have been Wednesday night. If you listen to this back as just Friday, if you're listening on Friday's usual Wednesday night, but there was three games in the Elite League last night, Wednesday. So that would have been pretty torturous. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm kind of glad that
chaos.
didn't work out. Yeah, chaos is the only way to describe it. How are you keeping, Dave?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, not. Yeah, it's grand. Work at work, keeping me busy and whatnot. But trying to stay with my finger on the hockey pulse, which is hard to do with a crazy family of mine. So
Yeah, well, we've only got what about what actually we've only got 1 month left, one full month of hockey left. I think there's only like literally 4 weekends or something left in the league, here in the Elite
was it
Ice Hockey League,
ten
say here in the
games or
UK.
something daft?
Yeah, so we will take a quick look at those games and what's left. But let's do as we always do, Dave, if that's okay with you, and let's start off first off with a rundown of the league as it currently stands on the 6th of March 2025. So sitting at the top of the league is the Belfast Giants in first place with 43 games played and 64 points. The Sheffield Steelers are in second with 44 games played and 60 points. The Nottingham Panthers are in third with 44 games played at 59 points. The Cardiff Devils are down in fourth with 43 games played at 54 points. The Coventry Blaze are in fifth, 44 games played at 51 points. Guildford Flames are in sixth with 44 games played at 48 points. The Glasgow Clan sit in seventh with 43 games played at 47 points. And the Dundee Stars are in eighth with 45 games played, 40 points. The two bottom teams, ninth and 10th, are Manchester Storm, 43 games played, 33 points. And Fife Flyers sit bottom as they have all season long in 10th place with 43 games played and 10 points. First off, Dave, let's look at the top of the table, and let's take a look at the three teams who have officially clinched the playoff spots for the quarterfinals, semi-finals, quarterfinals. The Belfast Giants, Sheffield Steelers, and the Nottingham Panthers, all three have secured their spots for the playoff games there that we played before the playoff final weekend, so the quarterfinal games. How are you feeling about that so far? What's your thoughts
Yeah,
on how things are standing?
it's a really it's going to be a really good run in for any of the anyone who's a hockey fan. I would say that it's going to be closer than it has been for a number of years. Um, it's going to be really good to watch. Now, obviously, I'm hoping that that's all just hyperbole, and the Giants put away that game in hand and go on a run and bury it early. But something deep down makes me feel like it's not. Um, Sheffield have lost a bit of form of late. Um, not just as confident as they had been at the early half of the season. But Nottingham Panthers is literally a completely different story. They're and I'm sure John, if in the previous podcast, I gushed over Grande, the Nottingham's netminder, that was assigned mid-season after their only what could only be described as a chaotic sort of spinning door with their netminders with injuries and whatnot. But they've settled and they've found an absolute cracker. And I think he really has already started to give them a lot of stability, which they're building on. And for me, they are the big contender right now. That you'd be more concerned of over Sheffield, just based on pure form. I think Nottingham are definitely the one to watch, and I think they're maybe even a better one to actually watch, as in they're more entertaining of a team. Um, Bit of a shame with Cardiff having such a strong start, and then they've struggled as of the last few last few matches to find any real consistency. But with that said, um, they're still in the mix, and we'll just have to watch the space really.
Yeah, I think you're right. On a couple of points there, the Nottingham Panthers. I mean, they're taking it really close to the Sheffield Steelers, and I do feel it. Maybe they will clinch that little, move into that little second spot before the end of this season comes. Belfast Giants obviously sitting top. 43 games played, 64 points, 4 points clear at the top with a game in hand over the Sheffield Steelers and Nottingham Panthers. However, this past weekend was a bit of a tough one for the Belfast Giants fans. Some games there that kind of maybe went ways that probably weren't expecting to have went. Losses there. I think 1 point from total of 4 points available over the weekend.
Yeah.
Not great at this end of the season.
It's hard to watch. The having the clan match, if I'm right, went to OT.
Yep.
Um, the they have signed they signed a new netminder at the tail end, if I'm right, Bo somebody, um, and he was an absolute brick wall on the night. Meant it was very any goals that were scored were super difficult, but then it was just went downhill quick. I think it's they maybe went into that game thinking, oh, this won't be a too bad game. We'll ride it through. But Glasgow want to ensure their position as a playoff team. They don't want their season to end, so they're going to throw everything at it to stay there. And yeah, as I said, it was a tough watch. That was I didn't see the other game, only seen the Glasgow game, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm gonna go back to a comment that you made there later on whenever we run through just some of the last the run when we run through the remaining games of the season. But so keep in mind I kind of want to have a quick chat about that whole idea of taking for granted the teams you're going into play. And did that kind of happen with Glasgow? But we'll come back to that. So hold that thought and we'll come back to that. Just looking then at the kind of the middle kind of tail end of the league. Obviously we've got the Coventry Blaze quite close to the Cardiff Devils in terms of points wise. And then we've got the Guildford Flames, Glasgow Clan, and Dundee Stars at the bottom there. I mean, I think I'm right in saying, and I don't think it's. I mean, it could be proved wrong still, but do we see the Manchester Storm moving up and taking that last spot in the playoffs at this stage, or do we feel that it's how we see the top eight is going to be the top eight that we find at the end of the season in 4 weeks' time?
you never say never. They do have two games in hand but still they're going to be adrift. They're not quite go if they manage to get all those in, they're still not quite pushing Dundee out. I think that they've left it a little bit too late. This is actually something I mentioned in the last podcast. I really enjoy watching the Manchester Storm. I think they've put together a really entertaining team, but I think um, they just don't have the full 60 minutes this season. Like if they get a big win, sometimes they can write or a big set of goals in the first period. Sometimes they can ride it through, but when you see teams playing against them, you tend to see them drop off near the end of the 60 minutes, and then that's makes it a struggle. And when you're looking at this end of the season where everybody's trying to make sure they're solidifying their playoffs, that's where you need to play every game like it's playoff hockey,
Mm-hmm.
and you need that 60-minute performance, and that's something that we've talked about that a lot this season. There's a lot of teams that have went through spats where 60 minutes has been a real problem. Giants have definitely been guilty of it. Let's just need to look at the Challenge Cup. It we played 60 minutes, but we couldn't do two 60 minutes on the trot. So and I think that I don't know whether that's because the tempo of the league has changed. It's definitely a lot faster. I think this year's been a little bit more physical than we've had in a few years. And does that have an impact on how much you can put in, night out?
Mm. Yep.
Um, it's hard to, you're not in any of the rooms where you're seeing how bad, the knocks are, or our players playing with niggles and injuries or what, but we'll never know. But
No.
there's definitely something across the league where we're seeing that.
So I want to take just one last comment just before we move on to have a wee quick look at the last remaining fixtures there. But Fife Flyers obviously sitting in 10th place. 10 points from 43 games played. We obviously know the difficulties Fife are going through. We know what's currently happening in terms of trying to sell on the team. Obviously, we know that there's conversations happening about whether or not the team will be in existence in the Elite League come next year. But for the end of the season, John's probably hoping that there isn't, and I know he's watching. John's probably hoping that there isn't another point scored. Well, let's be honest, John, you're a Fife fan. Part of you does want them to get more points, but the other part of you doesn't because you don't want to lose your nose hair. I believe. I think he's put a bet on with his barber, who is a Fife Flyers fan, and he has said basically if the Fife Flyers take another 2 points this season, he is willing to have his nose hair, I think, waxed off or something along those lines. So John is hoping that in some ways, he's hoping that there's not, but also in some ways, clearly deep down, he wants those extra points for the Fife Flyers because he is a fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, John, you can keep us right on that. I think it is you're losing your nose hair, I believe.
Such an uphill struggle for them at this stage. But if it's going to put John through some pain, then yeah, 100%.
There you go. Nose hairs at risk. One more when this season means more nose wax. There we go. Let's move across and have a quick look at the final remaining games of the 2024-2025 season. So we are at the business end of the season. Such a cliche, Sam, but we are at it. It's the last push. Okay. It's the last run. So obviously we have to look. We'll take a quick look at the top 3 teams rather than going through everyone because I'm not saying that it's important, but I just feel like with the top 3 being so close in points and games still left to play, I feel like that's the 3 teams we should look at most. So start off with the Belfast Giants. They have a total of I think 11 games left for the running. They have Dundee, Guildford, Fife, Glasgow, Cardiff, Guildford. Doubleheader against Fife, 1 at home, 1 away, I believe. Manchester, and then 2 games against the Nottingham Panthers, 1 home and 1 away. Actually, the 2 Fife games are both in Belfast, the Belfast 26th and the 29th of March, respectively. So 2 days apart. Yeah, 3 days apart. So yeah, it's obviously a midweek and then a weekend game. Dave, obviously the Belfast Giants, you mentioned it there and we talked about it briefly and we kind of mentioned it. You know, there is this thing of, you know, they've got Fife Flyers 3 times to come. They have Glasgow once. They have Manchester to come. I'm not saying that they're up against bottom end teams, but there's quite a significant number of bottom end teams. How important is it for the Belfast Giants to go into those specific games not with that idea of we've got this?
They have to go in with every game between now and the end of the season not even until we have our fingers on the trophy for every single game. Because we're going to want to win more. We're not just, if we win the league, it's fantastic end of the season, but we don't want it to be the end. We want to have there's another trophy after that. And because we don't have the luxury of a 7-game series in the playoffs, you can't let up. You have to have this as a as your playoffs. You can't be. We seen it under 80, where we won the league just after Christmas. Absolutely dominant team, and then because we had won so early, by the time we got to the playoffs, the team had sort of forgotten how to play a competitive match. So what you want is for them to play every game like it's their last, and to push it. Problem being is that it's easier said than done. How many times have we seen it over the last? What did we reckon? 15 years. More.
For us, 17, I think I worked out as
17 years, and it happens. You see these, matches that you expect to win. We used to have it every year for Donkeys against Edinburgh. Every time Edinburgh or Hull used to turn up and beat us 5-0 and stuff, and they would have been sitting at the bottom of the league, and there would have been no rhyme nor reason to it.
The Vipers in our first season beating us in the playoff quarterfinals, not even getting to the playoff final weekend, and then the Vipers again during that game where they came with, was it like 9 players, and they iced like something ridiculous, like what was it, like 11 players altogether. Remember, it's a depleted team anyway, and they came and it was shocking.
They didn't have enough for a full 2 lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember that. I'm desperate.
But you're right. It's very important. Just moving into this tail end, this last few weeks. That I mean, we don't just think it's an easy game. Let's go for it, because we know that, as you say, that has bitten us in the past. It bites most teams. I think clearly we had the same thing happen in the Challenge Cup was it the year before last, when the Sheffield Steelers were knocked out by the Five Flyers, for the Five Flyers to move on to the Challenge Cup final against the Belfast Giants. Some people argued that the Sheffield Steelers on that game against the Five Flyers became complacent, believing that they had it in the bag and therefore didn't really put in the effort they needed to put in order to take that win. And look what happened there. Speaking of the Sheffield Steelers, they have 10 games remaining. So their running is the Nottingham Panthers this coming weekend. They've got Nottingham Panthers and Glasgow this weekend. Then they have Guildford and Cardiff, Glasgow and Manchester, Dundee and Fife, and then Cardiff and Coventry. So tough enough running. They come up against Cardiff Devils. You're still, I'm not saying out of contention, because they're still within contention. If they've got 10 games left, they're a couple of points behind those two, behind Sheffield and Nottingham, but they're not that far behind. I mean, realistically, if Cardiff took a few of those games, they could be back in it. So Cardiff aren't going to just be like walkovers. Neither is Nottingham. Obviously, they're going up against Nottingham this coming weekend. That's going to be a tough game for them this weekend, especially with Nottingham trying to jump over them now points wise and take that lead. Over Sheffield.
Biggest rivalry in hockey, after all. They're gonna they're never easy games, and Nottingham's had their number. So it's gonna be tough.
Yep. Panthers, then they have 11 games left, and the Panthers running looks as follows. This week they have Glasgow. Actually, that was last night, so ignore that one. They have Sheffield, Cardiff, which they lost. They have Sheffield, Cardiff, Manchester, Fife, Cardiff again, Glasgow, Manchester, Guildford, and then the Belfast Giants. And those two games, home and away series, at the very tail end of the season. John made a comment about it earlier on, made a joke about bringing it down to the final two weeks of the season in order to make it more interesting. I mean, realistically, we've seen it in the past. As you kind of said, we kind of hope it doesn't get there, but is there a chance that it comes down to that weekend at 5th and 6th in Belfast? Both home away series could do.
Yeah, and it's not an easy watch if you lose those games. Whenever you end up with somebody else lifting the trophy in your barn, it is tough. But I'm hoping that we can lock it down before that.
Yep.
I think, from whenever you watching this Giants team under Kiefer, they seem to thrive under a bit of pressure. So if it has to come to that, I think they'll be able to do it. But as fingers crossed, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention. We will come back to the Elite League in period 1, but let's turn our attention across to the NHL and just have a quick look at the standings as they currently are. Looking at the Western side of things first, in the Central Division, the Winnipeg Jets currently sit first. Let me just move this along. Winnipeg Jets sit first with 62 games played and 88 points. The Dallas Stars are in second with 61 games played and 82 points. And the Minnesota Wild are jumping up into third there, 62 games played and 76 points. I don't usually start with the Western side. I usually start with the other side. Oh well, we'll do Western first. We'll go back to the other side. Pacific Division then, Vegas Golden Knights sitting top with 61 games played, 80 points. The Edmonton Oilers are in second with 61 games played, 74 points. And the Los Angeles Kings are in third with 60 games played and 71 points. The two wildcard spots currently held by Colorado and Calgary Flames. Close behind, though, I should just have a quick note that closely behind is the Vancouver Canucks and the St. Louis Blues. Just should be mentioned as well. Over in the over on the other side of the country, in the eastern side of things, and the Atlantic Division, the Florida Panthers sit on top with 62 games played, 79 points. The Toronto Maple Leafs are in second with 62 games played, 79 points as well. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are in third, 61 points and 61 games played, 76 points. Metropolitan Division then, the Washington Capitals sit top with 62 games played, 88 points. Carolina Hurricanes are sitting in second with 62 games played, 76 points. And the New Jersey Devils are in third, 63 games played, 72 2 points. The 2 wildcard spots are held by Columbus and the Ottawa Senators. Dave, let's take a quick look at let's stick with this side of the country first, the eastern side of things. Anything jumping out at you there of note?
Just loving seeing Kiefer in New Jersey still performing. He taken a team that was struggling the previous few seasons, and they're now pushing up into those contender spots. You know, they're and he is just as passionate as his brother is, but getting a big fine
Seen that
there this week. So it's really good to watch, especially when you're starting. You know, you've got a connection there. You know, it's different. Like I obviously wouldn't watch a New Jersey Devils match. It wouldn't be something I would be unless the Wild were playing them. But whenever you like, I wouldn't watch the highlights. But then whenever cause Kiefer's there, you're like, oh, I'll give it a go. You know, give it a watch. And it was interesting. Florida Panthers. Who would have guessed that a team in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, would have a hockey dynasty, or at least the start of one. It's unthinkable. They were a bit of a laughing stock for the whole start of whenever I started following ice hockey. It was how can Florida Panthers, or what are they gonna do? Um, and I went even whenever I went to watch them. You know, I went donkeys ago, was able to get a ticket for like $10, not even 10 quid, $10. You know, for nothing, and empty seats everywhere. I can't see that being the case now.
no,
Um,
nope,
absolute powerhouse. And
yep.
again, Tampa Bay sitting there with them. Two Florida teams that you would never have. You're picking out places for hockey. You wouldn't have been going Florida. You know,
No.
swampland. You know,
For me, I think the biggest surprise so far for this side of the country is definitely the Boston Bruins kind of completely fallen out of grace there. They're completely fallen down. I mean, they're currently sitting in sixth place in the wild card spots. Okay, but they've played 2 games more than the other 5 that are above them. They've 64 points from 63 games. And if you think the Ottawa Senators and the Columbus Blue Jackets, the 2 spots there are 68 points, 67 points in 61 games. I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle if Boston wants to kind of have any kind of postseason game. You know, if they're wanting to hopefully
Iron buying a hat for them. You see,
that's it. Did Aaron throw the jinx in there? That's a good point. That is a good point. Maybe him throwing his support behind him has maybe jinxed him a wee bit there, but
that's it. Yeah.
we'll never know. On the other side of the country, then Dave, obviously the Minnesota Wild. I'll give you at least a minute and a half to talk about the Minnesota Wild and your love there for that. So if you want to go and have a chat about that, you're more than welcome.
The Minnesota Wild this season have been really interesting, but the big thing for the Minnesota Wild has been watching basically Flower's farewell tour as he goes around each team and does the final matches.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. And have you seen? I don't think I have any of the photos, but the Gustafsson, the Wild's #1 netminder, um, has been getting in on the game with a lot of fans, obviously doing banners saying bye to him and stuff. There's a fantastic shot of him standing in the tunnel, holding a big banner saying, what was it? So many matches, so many wins, so many shutouts. Is there one more season with like an empty tick box trying to trying to tempt him back? There's just this pure love between the two of them, which is fantastic. But the season's been dominated by that, and I think having that, you know, as the background, the players are just fed off that, and it's been more energetic. They've been seemed to be like when you're watching it, it's more fun to watch. It's not a team that's scrambling to try and catch that wild card spot. We've been in that, first, second spot most of the season, only dropping down to the wild card spot I think once or twice. And I think that they have the opportunity to go through in one of those spots, and it's going to be interesting to watch. But and a lot of that I think comes down to this fact that it has sort of just been a farewell tour for Fleury.
Do you want to add on maybe a little bit of a Belfast again, a little Belfast link there, and a bit of Belfast luck being thrown in there, with the backroom staff that are
Yeah,
working currently in Minnesota.
there's a few of them now, is there?
Yeah, there is indeed. Okay. I think that is us for the intro for 25 minutes. For our run out of our league. So if it's okay with you, Dave, let's get stuck in and we'll talk about period one of hockey. Okay, period one is a roundup of news stories from around the UK. We're going to focus primarily mostly on the Elite League, probably much this period. I think there's one maybe just outside of the Elite League, but let's get stuck in and started with the first story since our last podcast. Obviously, I missed the podcast that you, Dave, I think it was Dave, yourself, John, and Aaron did 2 weeks ago.
Me, Aaron, and the substitute teacher.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. The At that stage, the Belfast Giants were up against the game against the Nottingham Panthers was still to be played in the Challenge Cup. Well, now the final has been set for Belfast SSA Arena, and that final will be next Wednesday, the 12th of March, to decide the winner of the Belfast Giants versus the Nottingham Panthers in the final. Oh no, sorry, the Cardiff Devils. Sorry. Cardiff Devils. It was Nottingham Panthers that were beaten. The Cardiff Devils, the two sides will face off again in the Challenge Cup final. Is a repeat of the 2022 final, as well as I think again it was in the 2018 final as well. It was Belfast first Cardiff. So this next week, next Wednesday, we'll see the final for the Challenge Cup. Challenge Cup finally finishing, shall we say? Dave, both I think. I mean, I guess I suppose from my point, for me, oh, you've disappeared. You for me, it's a bit bittersweet. The final is coming up on the 12th, and this will be the first final since the knockout knockout cup final, which was held in 2008-9 season in Dundonald on St. Patrick's Day, I think, or was it Challenge Cup on St. Patrick's Day? It was one of those two. Whatever one came first. This will be the first. This will be the first game trophy final being played in Belfast that I will miss in over 17 years or so. Unfortunately, I'm away, and I said last week, the last game I was at, I was joking around, and I said, I guarantee that if the Belfast Giants find their way to the final and it's being held in Belfast, I guarantee it's going to fall on the dates that I'm away and I'm over in England. And lo and behold, that's exactly what's happened. So you're going solo to the game next Wednesday, I believe.
Yep, all my own. I'm actually really, I've 100% like I'm looking forward to it. I know plenty of people in the arena, so I'll find someone to talk to. But it'll be a phenomenal match. Already sold out, I believe. I know that a lot of people were struggling to get tickets. I think even the Cardiff section is fully sold as well. So that's phenomenal. I don't think they got in because there was like this whole group of people waiting for those tickets to go on general sale, and they didn't. So it'll be it's a shame that obviously some Giants fans don't get to go, but it's going to be amazing having so many Cardiff ones over. And again, it's a big money game because there was no discounts for that match
Nope.
for season ticket holders or anything. So it's just pure profit, I suppose. And that's huge. Obviously the win is what you want, but if you're not going to win, you might as well take a big gate. And that's the way to go. But it's going to be a tough one. Cardiff already lifting silverware this season will want to add to it. They'll need to add a cup for their dinner plate.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
So they're gonna throw everything at it, especially considering their sort of not fantastic form of late. They're gonna throw everything at that, and it's gonna be a tough game no matter what anyone says. It'll not be an easy one.
Agreed.
And they have choices in nets, Caruth or Bounty, or they've those options. So we will have to wait till the day to know what we're going up against, whether we're going up against somebody with um, that experience in those finals, or if we're going up against Carruth, who's can be a brick wall at days, So
Mm. I
it's going to
mean,
be a tough one.
I would agree. I mean, it's one of those ones where, I mean, we know Bouncy, the last game that Cardiff were in Belfast, Cardiff unfortunately had a mare of a night. Bouncy was just left high and dry for that game. I mean, it was, what was it, 6 goals against him, I think it was in the game, I think in the end. And it was just brutal to watch. At one point, I was kind of just thought, oh, please, that, the Simpsons gif, he's dead already kind of that one.
Yeah.
I think I actually sent it to you guys in the group chat, because it did at one point. I just felt really bad for him, which is really bad to say, but we know that he has the ability to turn up for these big important games, and he does do that. And I mean, as you say, like the looks of you know, the looks of or from the looks of things in terms of the fact that that's pretty much a sellout already for this game, as John said in a comment a few minutes ago. I mean, the stream is there, and I say that will be very well purchased as well. I say there'll be a lot of people on that stream watching that too at the same time. But yes, let's have a quick look at the next story, if that's okay. So we'll move on to our next one. This obviously is the story this week that the Coventry Blaze have signed, or I should say re-signed or signed a 2-year extension to the head coach Kevin Moore, keeping him at the Sky Dome until the end of the 2026-2027 season. Moore is also given a bit of a promotion in some ways. And I know John talked about this on one of his TikTok lives during the week. But Moore will be taking on responsibility for the director of hockey operations going forward. But we see this is something that's not unusual. I think a lot of those GMs and stuff and those coaches and stuff do take on additional roles, and I think quite a few of them have taken on this hockey operations kind of role itself. Obviously, Coventry felt that Kevin's done a great service to the club, or has done a great performance in his first season there. What's your take on that?
I think it's a great choice. I think I've talked about this before. I think that a lot of teams can be very short-sighted when it comes to their coaches. A coach needs multi-years before they can do anything with the team. You very rarely get a coach that comes in and can just do everything from day one. And he's not been poor. They're a solid team this year. They're solid mid-table and they're dangerous. You go in any match and you could go either way. Giving him multi-years means that he can build on that, and you could be looking at a team that's challenging at the end of those years. And it's only right. It'd be different if he had maybe struggled out of the gate. But because they've been solid, they've not been poor. He definitely deserved the extra years. The hockey operations thing is interesting to me. It's something that we only see in those sort of rink teams. Very rarely do you see it in the arena teams. Usually you have a separate person that looks after that. But if it's a way of being able to provide an extra bit of, funding, if he has to do a bit of extra work, it might just make it a bit easier for him to stay. And because I know, like back in the day, Tomo was the coach and head of hockey operations for the Blaze, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great choice, and gives him a fantastic opportunity to build on the team.
I agree. I think it's been a great move for him. Obviously coming away as the assistant coach for the Nottingham Panthers last year, obviously, and coming across to Coventry, and I think it's been a great move for him to do so. And I think what really does stick out is the fact that, like, a lot of the players of his summer signings and their summer recruits, quite a few of those are leading the league in things like goals and also in top 10 for points and stuff. So I mean, he's done well for his recruiting in the first season, and he's obviously done part of that recruiting. So it'd be good to see what Coventry do this coming year, especially if he has a bit more of a say from a very early stage, especially on those recruitment spots come next season. So definitely worth watching to see how that progresses. Let's move on to switch our attention up to Glasgow, heading up towards the Braehead Arena, which technically isn't Glasgow, but Glasgow. Obviously, they have had a new ice plant has been completed and installed in the Braehead Arena. That was a major milestone in what they call the sustainability of the Braehead Arena. I think one of the big things that they had talked about whenever the new ownership team took over in Glasgow, they made it very clear that, especially if they bought the rights to the ice and bought the rights to the arena, they made it very clear that one of the big things was about investing in the facilities and in the arena. And one of the big things that they had talked about was the fact that they needed a brand new and effective system that would work for an ice plant. So had been using a temporary ice plant, which was kind of, I don't know where they borrowed it from, but they got it anyway. But it's a massive investment that they've said up there, and I think it's long overdue. I don't really think there's much more to really need to talk about on that. But I mean, I suppose the only thing to say is, I suppose for Glasgow fans, it must be real, I suppose, comfort in knowing that the ownership that has taken over are still fulfilling those things that they said they were going to do from the day and hour that they signed that contract to say they were taking over in Glasgow.
Yeah, it was a huge boon when the Giants got their new ice plants. Whenever the Odyssey Trust took over, and that was again the same vein. It was new owners, stable owners, and willing to invest. So, John, I bet it doesn't fix their peg problem. Yeah, the problem with their pegs isn't their ice; it's their pegs. They use we dopey ones.
Yeah, there was something about that. They had, I think their ice technicians were on, and they were talking about they don't use the. This is so boring. They don't use the drill pegs, where they go down deep
So
into
boring.
the ice part where they stick the peg in. They use almost like a surface level one, which kind of just hits off, which doesn't make any sense.
It's like a training one or something. It's weird.
It's like a little disc. Yeah, yeah.
Random.
But oh, did I lose Dave?
Connections, internet.
Dave,
I can hear you.
Internet, you're back. Okay, no worries. Let's see. Let's switch our attention. Let's look at the next story. Up after the Glasgow one, we're sticking in Scotland, but we're going to switch our attention to the SNL, Scottish ice hockey, up there. The
Rockets.
Let me just get up this. Yep. SNL have the Dundee Rock have officially. Oh, we're losing everything right now. The Dundee Rockets have officially won the SNL title. Their inaugural season in the SNL, and the Edinburgh Capitals 4-1. The Rockets did set it as their mission this season to, I suppose, win that in their inaugural season, and they have done so. So they have followed through on what they had said from the very, very start of their season when they were coming in, that they wanted to kind of make sure that when they hit the ice this year, that they were coming in and they were basically wanted to be taken serious, I suppose, as a team. But fair play to them, inaugural season, winning the SNL.
I love the fact that it's the Rockets and the Stars.
Not much more to say.
Yep. Isn't the other one the Comets or something? Is like the junior one or something?
Lastly, one last story.
I'm here,
last
actually.
Story. Dave, I still get you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I do. No worries. Last story for this period then, and that is the story of the if you didn't know already, or if you have been at any of the games so far already this month, in the month of March, you may have noticed that the game officials are currently wearing special jerseys for this month, pink striped jerseys. So the Elite League is partnering up with the Pink Ribbon Foundation across March 2025 in order to raise awareness and funds for the Pink Ribbon Charity Foundation. The funds then obviously will go towards that. The league's game officials will be wearing special pink jerseys for the month, which proudly feature the foundation's pink ribbon logo across the front. The Pink Ribbon Foundation is a grant-making trust with a mission to fund projects and provide financial support to UK charities, which relieve the needs of people who are suffering from or have been affected by breast cancer, or work to advance the understanding of breast cancer and early detection and treatment. This is great. Obviously, this is a great move for the league to kind of obviously support another charity. We've seen this before. Obviously with the refs supporting things like Movember this year. But for the league and the rest to have their own little individual charities that they want to kind of raise money for, I think it's very worthwhile cause, and I think it's very, very great to see that they're actually being able to do this. Obviously, you mentioned Movember. I know that they raised £6,000 for the Movember campaign earlier this season, so it'll be great to see what they do with this. I'm sure they'll be auctioning off those pink jerseys as well towards that funds towards the charities. Dave, I mean, have you? I don't think I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
The jerseys?
Yeah,
I've seen the jerseys. Yeah, they're cool. They're pretty cool, and I love anything that's league wide because it's nationwide. Then it's you have a benefit of catching such a big audience with it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm just sorry. I was just reading a comment there. I believe the internet connections were my fault, so I apologize for that. I don't know what's going on. There's probably several downloads being happening at the moment in my house. So,
I'll start tap dancing if it start going wrong again.
there is a. Don't worry. If you go into the media assets, there is a technical fault button there. You can just hit that, and it'll give you a bit of space, a bit of breathing time. Anyway, I think that is all in terms of stories for period 1. Yep, it is indeed. So with that, then we'll swiftly get moved on to our period 2 of hockey.
Hello, and welcome to period 2 of hockey. This one's going to be interesting because not only have I not done any research, I only joined the podcast 1 minute before starting, so I also haven't read anything that's currently here. However, I do have a decent idea of what happened in the hockey world this week, the last couple of weeks, so hopefully I can blag it as normal. So I'll start with a couple from Aaron, since he's not here, and we'll start with, geez, of course Aaron puts in something about Apple.
Of course he did. Well, I kind of threw it in. I won't lie, I kind of put it in because he was the one that sent the story through in the WhatsApp group, and I was like, you know what, that's Aaron's story. I'm not stealing it. We'll put it under Aaron's name so he can have it.
So the Allen Ice officials in the NHL have now adopted Apple Watches to provide telemetrics and crucial information around the match. Which, is it a gimmick? Who knows? But the more information you can give a referee at their hands, at their fingertips, the better. Did it need to be an Apple Watch? Probably not. Next, they'll be wearing what do they call their big eye thing? The big VR goggles.
Oh yeah.
Apple Visions. Apple Visions.
Apple Vision. Yeah.
So they'll be wearing those next and floating around the ice. What do you think? Gimmick or actual proper tech?
I don't know. I mean, they talked about that they have been working on this from last season, and obviously the first trial of this was this past week at the Federal Union NHL Stadium Series, which happened this previous Saturday. The on-ice officials obviously were using that as a trial to see how it would work. So just kind of give a bit of background on it. So the officials would get haptic notifications during the game. So that includes game clock, game clock, game clock countdowns, penalty clock countdowns, and jersey numbers of which players are in the penalty box at any given time. They have said that the technology has been tested and refined in the last few seasons and certain indoor venues, and it would be the first debut of the NHL Watch Comms app for those types of things. I mean, I'd be interested to see, obviously they're talking about the haptic notifications. Obviously it will vibrate or it will kind of tap in some way to kind of let you know. So the question is, do the officials then have like a set of lists where it's like, if it taps twice it means this, or if it's like 4 buzzes in a row. But to be honest with you, like, so I am an Apple Watch wearer, so I do have it's sitting over there. I haven't put it on today. I haven't put it on actually a few days, but so I have obviously my Apple Watch, and I have it set so like obviously you get notifications of like you get messages and everything else, whatever it is. I barely feel it on my wrist whenever it does. So, like, if you're skating around on the ice, like, what's it shot? Like, you must be really in tune to have to feel it. Have they set the vibration on it to like super vibrate or something? Because it's insane. I don't get it. I don't know if it is a gimmick or not. If it's working for them, it's working for them. But I mean, what was there really a difficulty in what was already happening before?
I'm wondering if they were having, struggling to remember who did what, because obviously they can't run around with a pen and paper. They're like, one of the things I was actually wondering is, I wonder if it tracks who's on the ice for an icing call. Who's got the people to try and jockey in and out. That would be good.
Yeah.
You knew who was on whenever the call was made. Whether it is the case or not, I have no idea. We'll cover off Aaron's other one.
Yeah.
So we have another goalie goal. Is that what I'm reading?
Yep.
How did I not know about this? I didn't actually know.
Technically.
Technically, okay. So you know a bit more. Why is it technically?
So the Islanders goalie Sorkin joins the goalie club for a goalie goal, making it the 20th goal in the NHL. However, it was against the Nashville Predators, and John, I know you're watching and you're not here to have a chat about this, but the Nashville Predators were trailing 6-4, and there was a, shall we say, in the third period, I think it was the last, basically it was a big save from Stamkos. Stamkos was the last person to touch the puck on that save. So so keep this in mind, he was the last person from the New York Islanders to touch the puck. However, the Nashville Predators forward Steven Stamkos accidentally rebounded the puck into the Nashville end and scored an own goal. Own goal, and the last person to touch the puck was Sorkin. He was awarded a goalie's goal. Officially the 20th goalie to make a goalie goal in the NHL. It's just a poor sequence.
I hate that. Sorry. Whenever we've seen a few times now with OG goals. With one last season with New Jersey coming off the stanchion and a weird bounce for a wraparound, and it just ended up sliding in, and it's hard to watch whenever you have that. And then, but this year, give it the next season, no one remembers how he got the goals. All they'll remember is the 20th goalie to have a goalie goal. So.
This is the first season. This is the first season in the NHL history to have multiple goalies credited with goals in one season. So this is he is now officially the third goaltender this season to score a goalie goal. Obviously you have he's the third goalie this season technically, obviously, to score a goal, but it's the most they've ever had in one specific season.
That's amazing.
So fair play. But yeah, so there you go, a little bit of information for you on that.
Okay, so we'll go to one that I actually know something about. I don't know why they're doing it, but I did see the pictures of it. So the bobblehead of a bobblehead. So I don't know why it came about. Maybe because it's Austin Matthews. Maybe you might know, but they've created a bobblehead holding another bobblehead. Do they both bubble actually? Because I've never seen a video of it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Yeah, they do.
I love a bobblehead. It's something that's never made its way to UK hockey, and it's something I would love. Obviously, my pops. If they done bobbleheads, I 100% would have Elite League bobbleheads.
No, I think now someone can correct us. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling. So the Belfast Giants don't have bobbleheads because our merchandise is piss poor. It's garbage. But and it hurts to say, but probably one of the best merchandise providers in the Elite League is the Nottingham Panthers. I still stand by. I think their merchandise and and the level of merchandise they have isn't as cheesy as some other teams, Cardiff Devils. But I think some of the merchandise that they put out is really good. Some of the quality in terms of like the hoodies, in terms of like jumpers, t-shirts, all that stuff, all is pretty good. I have a feeling that the Nottingham Panthers have done bobbleheads in the past for their own team. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think whenever I've been in ice in the ice, is it ice locker? Is that what they call it there?
Ice locker,
yeah. When I've been in there, yeah, I think I remember whenever we've been in there during playoffs or whatever. I think I've seen them in there, for sure. Or maybe I just seen bobbleheads that were actually NHL bobbleheads. I don't know. Could have been. But I feel like I've seen them.
Yeah, if a Giants one came out, 100% I would be buying it. But it's just one of those.
I mean,
was there a reason for it, or was it just for shits and giggles?
No, it was just shits and giggles. It was just like, why not have a bobblehead holding a bobblehead? You know, double bobbleheads are just, you know, so much more fun. But yeah, it's so funny. I just think it's hilarious. I don't know why. It does tickle me that the fact that they have a bobblehead holding a bobblehead. I don't know why. It's very meta.
So we have one more piece, and Marty, it's all yours.
Yeah, so this is an NHL announcement that occurred just yesterday, actually. So the NHL put out a press release yesterday to announce that the NHL are adding a variety of unique and exciting animated programs for the rest of the 2024-2025 season, which will feature numerous formats, content types, and distribution of partners. So they're calling it the NHL Hockeyverse, and it's going to be an animated data visualization representation of NHL's global efforts to feature innovative NHL technology. So basically what they're saying is they're trying to appeal to, I guess, a new junior group of fans using different variations of animations, and they'll use different teams to do some of those exact things. So some of the bits and pieces they have announced are so they have the NHL, the Boston Bruins will be the first ones up on the 11th of March, and it'll be a thing called Best Snow Day Ever. It is going to be obviously on television, and it brings kids to the idea of a snow day on school, and also then how it would turn into like this kind of like transported to this imaginary Boston game, skating with mascots and everything else. They have also confirmed that the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars will be involved with real-time animation data visualizations of a game that's going to be going live, and that will be on March 16th. On March 29th, we have Hockey Paradise, which is a Tampa Bay Lightning focused event, which will see a broadcast of Tampa Bay Lightning versus the New York Islanders game. Again, one of those kind of live kind of parts and pieces that will be put together and has family focused and things, and children learning all different bits and pieces about the hockey. We have the Music City Hockey in Smashville, which means the Nashville Predators will be also involved with that one. And then we have also, who else we got in LinkedIn? Calgary Flames and the San Jose Sharks are also linked into this whole thing as well. The plan is to kind of have it, see how it works, kind of get a feel for this animated programming to see, does it engage people worldwide? Does it kind of bring in a new level of play of fans in terms of younger fans? I think then to kind of maybe try and use the hockeyverse moving forward to next season. John makes a good point. Where is it? Just I'm going to add it to the screen. They've done the animation thing before on a Stadium Series game or something, and they did it for Disney characters or something. Yeah, that's right. They had the Disney characters used where they had the live almost imposed on the player. So as players were moving around in the live game, they had the animated characters doing exactly the same moves and everything else, which is pretty interesting. Obviously, you've used the technology before. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this all fans out. I mean, we've seen variations of this type of thing before. We've seen, we've seen them trying to engage younger players, younger fans through things like Marvel collaborations and a bunch of other things. Yes. But again, I suppose it's just something else to try and see, is this something we can kind of, advance on and kind of maybe make interesting for people?
Yeah, I've noticed they still use some of those Marvel idea of character things every now and again. on social media
Mm.
when there's stuff around. So even if it's identity that they can cling to for a different audience or a younger audience, then maybe it might work. We'll see. We'll watch this space.
Yes, okay.
All right. And that is us for period 2. So we can shimmy on over to period 3.
Period 3 it is. Okay, period 3 is our general Knocky news.
Knocky news.
I've never done Knocky news before, so I completely got confused about what to say. So, John, I apologize for that. I genuinely, this is the first time I've ever done Knocky news, so apologies for that. Knocky news is our section where we just kind of talk about everything and everything else that's caught our attention in the
Tell it as it
Elite
is.
League. It's
We
really
had
just a jersey.
Yeah, no, we had to give John a period, so we had to make it do something.
Yeah, it's also quickly just turning into our period of just talking about jerseys and having a review on anything new that we've seen in terms of our jerseys that are being released. We will come to that now. We do have obviously the Elite League at the end of this month, the final weekend, I think, or of March, will be the retro weekend. And I know you guys looked at some of those retro jerseys last week. I know you looked at, I think, the Guildford one and the Belfast one. I think you looked at the Fife one. I think that was really it. But there has been a couple of additions added this past week. The first one up is the Nottingham Panthers released this one as their take on their retro game nights. Dave, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's all right. I actually quite like the red. It's obviously a wee bit different for them. Maybe obviously I have no frame of reference for the heritage of it, but it does look retro. Looks like a beer or something. Like
Yeah,
just the
I get
oval. But yeah, that's all right.
It's exactly. It is what it is. I think
I'm always a bit funny about Panthers jerseys, and I don't know what it is. I think it's the Panther, just because it looks a bit too animated. If you know what I mean, it's not a logo. It's like that's the same issue I have with the Florida Panthers as well. It's always a bit too real. If they're trying to make it look like a real panther.
And have they? I think they have used the retro style logo on this jersey, and I think you're right. I think it's you kind of, when you're so used to seeing the jersey and the current logo as it is, sometimes it's a bit like, oh, whenever some of those logos, there's some logos, and like I'll admit it straight away, like some of the logos you kind of get used to the fact that there's been change to some of the logos, and some of the logos you kind of know yourself, you kind of think to yourself, you know what, it changed for a reason, that looks better for a reason. And I think this is definitely one of those cases where I think the Nottingham one looks better now than what it did back then. Controversial comment, but that's just my take on it. Next up, we have the Sheffield Steelers. We have the two different variations of the Sheffield Steelers logo or jersey. What's your take on these ones? I've seen
bringing their tail back. Remember, it used to made me vomit every playoffs. The whole Teal Alliance rubbish.
Oh yeah, Teal Alliance. Yeah, no, getting the bin with that kind of thing. I mean, I suppose my confusion about it is I like it. It's like, well, I like it, but I don't like it. I like that they, as you say, they're at least trying something with it. I think what I don't like about it is it looks like almost that there's like a rectangular box around the Sheffield logo, the little steel mat or whatever that official term is for that. That box around it just looks a bit off-putting. Like it's like as if it's been cut or something.
It's the same as the bottom, the Coors. They clearly couldn't get access to the transparent Coors in the red. So the stripes don't continue up. But they do in the teal and the silver one.
Yeah.
And that's obviously the same. No, yeah, it's weird. But because the Sheffield window center is the same. It cuts off part of the cog, because they don't have a transparent. It's just a white box. that they've dumped in, but they're trying something a bit different. It's a lot better than the the hand holding the steel girder, which looks really suggestive. So
Yeah.
this is a lot better than that.
Yeah, I would agree. It does look a bit, yeah, it does look slightly better. Slightly. But yeah. The other one, then I'm going to switch. I'm just going to switch the slide over because I've just added something to it while we were talking. John just kind of reminded me to add something in, so I'm just adding another thing on. So I'm going to just switch out to this one. But in the meantime, we'll look at these three. The Fife Flyers, although we've seen their retro weekend jersey, which you guys reviewed last week, they have also then announced as part of this seal of the club, and in part of that, they kind of highlighted and talked about the fact that they were going to do 3 jersey retirements as part of their kind of history of the club. The 3 players, obviously, sorry, just completely confused myself there. The 3 players in question, obviously, are obviously Morrison, Steve King, and also then Dudium. And they have announced that in the form of that they're going to retire those numbers, and also then as part of that kind of retirement of those numbers, and also as an acknowledgement, they're going to play in 3 different style jerseys during the games whenever the jerseys are. I think I've got this right. In the games that they're going to retire those numbers. This is the 3 jerseys that they have released as part of that kind of honor, shall we say, honor roll for Morrison, Steve King, and Stadium. We had a bit of a conversation in our group chat about these 3 jerseys. John made it very clear that he loved the 3rd one. For anybody who has watching the podcast, the
Manchester
weird
Phoenix one.
Manchester Phoenix reject one. Yeah.
They had the Phoenix had a jersey like that, didn't they? It was in purple, though, wasn't it?
I'm sure I could go back and find it, but yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on this? I mean,
so we had a debate, a fairly heated debate, and he's not here to defend himself, so I get to say whatever I want, and he can just type in the comments, and I don't have to look at it. No doubt he's typing furiously. I like the first one, the top of the list, the Morrison one, a lot more than their retro jersey. And again, he'll be typed away. The retro jersey that they have decided is an exact copy of a very old sweater. But the Morrison one to me is it's different enough from what they're currently wearing to stand out. And I do like it. I like a bit of tartan. It's something that came around to after seeing so much of it. It doesn't blind me just as much as it used to. The other two. The other two. The middle one, I'm not a big fan of, and the Manchester Phoenix one was lovely in the Manchester jersey.
Yeah, and I see Anthony put up there a comment. All Phoenix jerseys were very birdy. Yeah, yeah, of course they were. But yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. I think when I first seen these jerseys, whenever we were talking about it in the group chat, I think the first comment I made, especially about that middle one, I think the Steve King one, was that for me, it kind of reminded me of like really small, tiny blue tiles that you would find in like a leisure center, like around like back in the 80s or 90s. Well, 80s, I wouldn't know because I was only born in the late 80s. But definitely in the 90s, like leisure centers in the 90s, they used to have like those little blue tiles around. Like
Northern Ireland's about 10 years behind everybody else. It was the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was like a little like strip of like blue. I vaguely remember. I just have this really vivid memory of one of the centers we used to go to swimming on Saturdays. It used to have like this a band of blue tiles. It used to run right around the pool, and it looked exactly like that. So it's kind of getting me like, oh, okay, retro nostalgic feel, but not in a good way. I don't know. I mean, I think whenever as you say, that when we did chat about these, I think we definitely had some mixed responses, and yeah, I don't know. I just think
what I will say though is, at least Fife do something unique or try to do something unique, and
Yeah.
100% props go to that. We've talked about it with the Giants. Like I love the Giants new one because it's based on a jersey that I love.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have no nostalgia to that, it's difficult to see the difference from any other jersey they've worn with that
Yeah.
logo, with the Finn logo. Where at least these, they have a lot more history to draw on, and they can push the boundaries a bit. And it's they're doing something with the opportunity that they have, and fair play to them. But they're not always going to please everybody.
No.
Very few people.
And I think that's it for Jersey Corner for this week. I think that's the three
What?
the three main ones we had for this week. Sorry, Anthony, I'm only seeing your message. I've only seen your chat comment there now. I haven't seen it. If I had seen the Bracknell retro jersey, it would have thrown up. But we'll put up for our next podcast next week, because I'm sure there'll be still more retro jerseys coming out, because obviously the retro games are coming up, I say, at the end of the season. So I will make sure we add to it as well.
Why does John sound really bitter in the comments?
Oh, he does sound, doesn't he? Doesn't he? Look, there you go. There's another one he's put up. And again, I would agree with you. These are better than every Cowboy Night jersey ever made or ever will be made. Speaking of the Cowboy jersey, that will be this coming weekend. Belfast Giants have announced, although they haven't put out any images yet of that jersey.
We don't have the picture of the belt buckle.
No, I should have added that in. Oh, yeah, we should add that in.
So they have a massive, big, blingy belt buckle, and I said it. I don't know if I said it in the chat, but in my head, I went, my brother would absolutely love that, and yeah, he does. I think he's put in for the raffle.
Has he? Of course he has. Yeah, it was. I mean, I know the this coming weekend, as I say, the Belfast Giants are having their what's now going to seems to be like an annual thing, where they're going to have their yearly annual Cowboy Night. I know this one is sponsored by I think it's Jeff Baum's dad usually sponsors this game. I think his company his company sponsors this game, so therefore it's like let's add in a bit of a cowboy theme to it. I mean, the jerseys last year were awful. I can't even say they were okay. They were awful.
I guarantee they sold like hotcakes though, because we were at that 100%. Game. That game was absolutely banging. Like, it was unbelievable.
Don't get me wrong. The atmosphere on that night last year was something different.
Nuts,
like, people really, I said it at the time, people really bought into it last season. Like, they really did. Like, it really did get people really involved. And you know what? I'll do the same again. It's not my type of thing. It's not my thing. I don't like the music. I don't like anything about it. So it's not my type of thing. But you know what? People love it, and it definitely worked for some last year. Just a couple of bits. Anthony making it political there. Cowboys in Belfast. Storm and Choke there. Yep, of course. And then just John, one last one. Sorry, yeah. Whenever I seen the belt buckle, I thought exactly what you're saying, John. It looks like a WWE Intercontinental Championship. It does actually. Actually, I thought it actually looked like the blingy version of the WWE Championship from back in the day. But yeah, agreed.
Yeah. On Anthony's piece about the Cowboys in Belfast and the Storm and Choke, saying literally anything you could say. The retro jerseys, yeah, it's a joke about the Storm out as well. They're all a bunch
of one last story just to quickly chat about, and I'm going to put up an image for anybody. This is a warning for anybody of a nervous disposition. Okay. So if anybody does have a bit of a queasy stomach when they see injuries, I would suggest you maybe look away from the screen and just listen to the podcast, or listen to us talking and then listen to the podcast. Obviously, if you listen to the podcast, you're not going to see the image. If you want to see the image, go and look at the video, vice versa. But obviously, this past week, Belfast Giants Barriga took a skate to the face and left him with the following injury to his chin. Nasty looking injury. I mean, I think Taft probably had some work to do there to try and get it glued together before he went to a hospital to get that thing fixed.
Did you have the stitches, the pictures of the stitches?
No, I didn't. No.
So that happened. Somebody stitched him back up, and he went back out and played the final period. So insanity. And it looked like I have a few jerseys that Taft stitched, and it looks like that type of stitching. Like,
obviously,
it doesn't look pretty. But I shared it with the guys in work who aren't hockey people, and they're like, yeah, look at that, and they're like, oh, geez, that's bad. And it's like, aye, and it's like, and he was back out after 20 minutes, and jaws hit the floor. Like people don't get it. Like sometimes it's just
No,
different. It's different sport.
it's just a different mentality. I mean, we've seen
Yep.
it previously. We've seen it previously. We've seen it in other seasons where we've seen. I remember specifically. I remember was it Davy Phillips taking a similar skate to the face, completely ripping up in his face, and I think ended up having to go to the
David
Ulster
Phillips lost all
Hospital.
his teeth. Aye.
Yeah, and again, so and I mean that was a massive,
Yep, that was
massive
crazy.
cut. Oh, and also
Cheeks.
Peacock, Craig Peacock.
Yep.
He
got
also
it.
took a.
His upper lip.
Yep.
Upper lip and nose.
I mean, it's just insane. Like it's just a different. They're just a different breed.
Yeah.
So whenever people talk about, like, say, for example, football players falling over at the first little sign of something and whatever, it doesn't happen in hockey. You fall down, you get up, you stitch your face, and you get back on the ice. But yeah, I just wanted to bring it up and just show that because it was quite gruesome. And yeah, there you go. Dave, do you have anything else for this podcast?
Nothing else for period 3. Are we doing the extra pieces? I think we've got a couple of pieces from. We'll do one of them.
Yes, we'll do at least one of them anyway. Yeah, because I won't lie, I didn't have time to do the other part of the homework. But yes, we'll switch. We'll look at that now. Do I have an SR for? Let me see if I do have one for overtime. Do I have one? I do. Okay, overtime. Oh, it's been a while since we've done overtime, but I completely forgot whether or not we actually had an actual asset for it. We did. So overtime segment is just a roundup of stories or any kind of questions that are coming in from the fans or from anybody who's listening to our podcast, or as has been this past week, John on his TikTok lives picked up a few questions. And I won't lie, as I said, I didn't get a chance to do my homework, so that's maybe something we can do for our next episode, maybe when we're all together. The one question comes from Jack. Yeah, Jack on TikTok asked the question of, could you pick a forward and a defenseman from each team in the league? Can't be Belfast, and who would you sign for next season? I think that's definitely a question we'll put forward and we'll definitely talk about, because we do come towards the end of the season, and we always get to that point at the end of the season where we do think about, season's ending. Which players do we want to see back? Which players would we love to see signed? So I think that's a big question, and we'll add that on to our agenda for next week whenever John and Aaron hopefully are back, not next week, the week after, whenever they're back for the next episode. But we will do, just because me and Dave are here, and I know John has sent through his on this. The other question he asked was, can you wear or show your favorite NHL jersey that you have in your collection? Well, I'll go first. I am actually currently wearing mine, and I have been wearing mine the whole podcast. So this is my Toronto Maple Leafs white jersey. It's my Gustafsson jersey, number 50. Reason why this one is my favorite in the collection is because my good friend here, Dave, got me this jersey as part of as a wedding gift for being his best man, and it's got a little best man thing down in the bottom corner of the jersey. So it means a lot, and also because it's Toronto jersey, and it's a good original white Toronto jersey. So this is my favorite one in the collection that I do have. I do have, just for clarity, I do have the blue one. I have what John calls my Colgate Toronto jersey, which looks like he thinks it looks like a Colgate.
It's got the bars and the sleeves.
Yeah. I also have a Vegas Golden Knights jersey, and my other jersey. Actually, I'll go get it in a minute and I'll show you. But Dave, if you want to say your jersey, which one your favorite one is there, and I'll go grab my other one.
Mine is the Wild Season 1 jersey. For obviously main reasons, it was it's a very classic jersey, but the other one is it was a gift from, I think, Aaron and Marty and the guys. I don't know what it was for a birthday or something. I can't remember exactly when, but it was a gift. And whenever anybody gives you a gift, especially when it comes to jerseys, it does have special meaning. It's a jersey I don't actually get to wear that often, but I'll definitely start wearing it more. But it is something that I cherish. Also, it looks class.
My other jersey that I have is my technically it's an NHL jersey. It's St. Pat's jersey. which is one of my favorite ones, which I usually break out around St. Patrick's Day, obviously. So yes, this is my other favorite jersey, which I've picked up over the years, and that will get broken out this year. Although I don't think there's any games around St. Patrick's Day this year. I think both games at St. Patrick's weekend are away games. I think the weekend after, I think, is potentially too far after St. Patrick's Day for them to do something. But yep, I'll probably still wear it maybe to that game on the, I think there's a game on the 22nd. Nope. WWE and SSE on the 22nd. 23rd is against Guildford Flames, so I'll probably wear it to the Guildford game on the 23rd, just because it's so close to St. Patrick's Day. John is saying, where's John's here? Let me see his comment. It can pop up there. John is saying he has a Preds signed Subban jersey gifted to him by the wonderful McLean family. Big up to Ethan, who is having an amazing time in New York. Yep, of course. He is having fantastic time in New York. I know he's been to 2 games so far. I think he was at the New York Rangers game against the Preds, I think, the other night. Preds lost. And I think he got invited up into the media box for part of the game as well. The play-by-play media box, where they were doing the play-by-play online, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And I think then, was it last night before then, he was at the Islanders game then. A day or two ago, but yeah, that is a great jersey. And then obviously, then John's just saying his second favorite jersey is his Nashville Predators jersey from
Predators.
Yeah, the Predators jersey. Yeah, that's quite funny. Yeah, John purchased one off a website that's maybe not a. That's a knockoff. Which did whenever it came. I don't know who pointed it. I don't know if he had spotted it first, if someone else spotted it. It was on the arm here. It's like Predators or whatever. It's spelled completely wrong. And the stitching's all joined up as well, which is pretty funny.
It's a really nice jersey, but it's just the shape.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is indeed. But there you go. We didn't get Aaron's. We'll get Aaron to kind of maybe drop a message, drop a comment in the chat or in the social media to say which one his favorite ones are. But I'm going to guess it's probably going to be something, I don't know, Flyers related. Pittsburgh,
he has
Philadelphia related. Sorry,
he has a. I think he has an Avs jersey from when he was in Colorado.
Oh.
With school.
Oh. I don't know that. Okay,
that would be a good one.
We'll find out. We'll ask him.
Consider it's Aaron. It probably still fits
him. Let's see. I think, is that it for this? I just got that. It's funny. Yeah. Funny. Yeah. That's it for this week. That is the last of our questions for our overtime segment. But yeah, that's it. That is us for another week, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time when we are literally, I would say, 2 weeks from the end of the season at that point. So I think we probably have about 3 episodes left before officially the end of the season. So yeah, next week will be, or the next podcast will be an interesting one, because we're coming up towards those all important final games in the final league run-in. So
I think they all come thick and fast in that last 2 weeks as well. I think there's lots like midweek and weekend games and a lot tighter games, like tighter together. I mean.
Yeah. So that's it for this week. It's just left for me then to kind of remind everyone of our podcast, this one and all the other podcasts. You can check them out on our website, door14hockey.com. You can check out this podcast and previous podcasts as well on our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you're not watching us on YouTube now, you can go back and watch our previous episodes there. You can just also don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification thing, which is somewhere around anyway. So yeah, just follow us on YouTube and notifications and all that good old stuff. We're on all social media channels, Facebook, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok as well. Check out John there. He's doing some great lives on TikTok Live. He got I was caught tail end of it yesterday, and some great chat going on in there. So if you get a chance, check out our TikTok channel as well. Give us a follow there. That would be greatly appreciated. And last thing then to say is obviously for you, if you're listening to us on your podcast provider of choice and you haven't done so already, don't forget to leave us a review or a subscription or whatever your podcast provider of choice allows you to do in relation to reviewing podcast. We really do appreciate it. That is us for another week. And what's left for us to do is sign off for this episode. I'm Marty.
I'm Dave.
Have a great week.